Hey, Jan.
Hey kerel, hoe is het?
Ja, ik sta gewoon as we speak op Schiphol, zoals je kan horen.
Schiphol?
Ja.
Wat doe je daar dan?
Ja, eindelijk een trip naar het buitenland. Eindelijk een keer naar een distillery. Dus ik sta op het punt om in te stappen en weg te gaan naar Dublin.
Ik word echt instant jaloers.
Ja, ik wist dat je er heel graag bij kon zijn, maar ik wist ook dat jouw drukke agenda het niet toeliet. Dus ik beloof je, ik ga daarheen. Ik maak een mooie reportage over Teeling, Distillery en Dublin. En ik neem wat lekkers mee.
Ja, nou ja, super veel plezier. Ik mag zo weer een vergadering in, lekker dan. Maar Dublin, oh man. Nou, neem maar wat lekkers mee terug dan. Ik ben heel benieuwd wat je allemaal beleeft.
Ja, de jongens van Teeling hebben ons uitgenodigd. Dus ja, het kon niet anders. Maar ik moet echt gaan instappen, want anders mis ik mijn vlucht.
Is gewoon maar veel plezier, spreek je.
Oké, groetjes, doei. Dit is Drop or Dram, de podcast voor whiskyliefhebbers. Van beginner tot kenner. Schenk je favoriete glas in en luister met ons mee. Nou, we zijn de distillery binnengelopen. Teeling Distillery. En we worden opgewacht door brand ambassador voor de distillery Teeling, James. En ik kom hier gelijk langs de Lego Distillery. Wauw, die is prachtig. We slaan de rest eventjes over en we lopen gelijk heerlijk de productieruimte in. En we ruiken de wort al. En ik zie James al staan, dus ik ga naar hem toe. En hij gaat ons meenemen over wat Teeling allemaal te bieden heeft. So I caught up with James here in the production room of the Teeling Distillery. Hi James, thank you very much for having us as brand ambassador of the Teeling Distillery. We're standing here straight in the production room and all is set in one single large room, more or less. Straight in the distillery. It's a whiskey geek's dream, more or less. Hi James, thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you for having me. And stood on the distillery floor. I suppose, like, you can probably hear it in the background, but what you're not getting is, the heat and the smell that's in here. So I suppose best thing is to come here and actually experience it, or pick up your favorite dram and have a sip while listening.
Oh yeah, definitely you have to pick up a dram and listen to this episode. What's different about Teeling Distillery? Teeling Distillery established it's the new kid on the block, but it's a well-established brand at the moment. 2015, here right in the heart of the Liberties where it all began so long ago. It looks very clean, it looks very new. Stainless steel washback, beautiful, one run. The first thing first, for production-wise, the lauder ton. Take me through that. That is the mill of your Teeling Distillery.
I suppose, it's like the first stage of production for us would be starting off with the mill and the lauder tun, which would be where we process our grain. So, like most distilleries and most places, you kind of set up to do one thing. We very much pride ourselves on experimentation and innovation. So we're kind of set up to do many different things. So the kind of first main piece of equipment that allows us to do this is our wet mill. As you can see, it's right here in the open. It's not behind some specialized bomb-proof room, because it being a wet mill means that it's a lot safer. It means that if you come in here, you can really experience it and hear it and feel it running. But what it does, it allows us to process many different types of grains. So we do what's known as kind of batch production, you say. So we don't just run single malt all year. We'll do single malt for a couple of months, but then we'll move over to peated. Then we'll do some kind of rye, maybe crystal rye. We'll come back and do pot still for a while, then do maybe crystal malt, and then do some other ones that'll probably get in a lot of trouble if I.
Whoa! My head is spinning already. Crystal mold, peated mold, single mold, and all in one mill. This is a magical kind of piece of equipment, more or less.
Yeah, I suppose it just allows us to be flexible in what we're making. So if we're looking at whiskey and kind of looking at the future of whiskey's made up of many different things. You have your grain, you have your yeast, you have your cask, and then elements such as water, peat, and how you process those. So if we can play around and experiment with the grain very early on in the production process, we can maximize the flavor and bring out new flavors in the whiskey later on once it gets into your glass.
And that makes Teeling very, very exciting. That all those kind of flavors and all those expressions that you see more or less out there at the moment, that is what Teeling is all about. Great steel mash tun. We're not going to bore you with a complete production process. It is the whole experience. You really have to come down to Dublin and see it yourself. One thing we see here is this is very important for the people that don't know whiskey, but the pine washbacks, the fermenters. Pine washbacks, 2 of them. Why, how, what?
So I suppose fermentation is very important because that's where we actually make alcohol. We use our yeast to eat sugar to create alcohol, but only recently has it been actually considered a source of flavors. So we're using a combination of different styles of fermenters. So we have our kind of traditional Oregon pine fermenters, very old school way of making making beer or making alcohol. But then we also use our modern stainless steel. So getting the best of kind of modern, efficient technology with the more traditional, inefficient technology as well. Getting the best of like the past and the future. But just like using the 2 different types of fermenters, we use 2 different types of yeast as well. So using distiller's yeast, the heavy lifter of the yeast world. But we also use South African white wine yeast. So South African white wine yeast is not going to bring as much alcohol to us, but what it is going to bring is flavor. So your kind of fruity notes, orchard fruits, tropical fruits into our batch, which we can cherry pick later in distillation and highlight those kind of characteristics.
Oh, that makes interesting because and now it occurs to me that the fermenters back there's 2 pine fermenters here in front, and there's stainless steel fermenters just behind it. So as you were saying, experimenting with yeast makes more possible, like you're milling as well, different types of flavoring already in the corn and in the grains you use and all the yeast. So a lot of things happening right here in, what is it, 200 square? Yeah, it is amazing. And as we take it is a podcast and you can't really smell, but oh man,
if we came back in about like an hour, 2 hours, that would be vigorously bubbling away. There'd be a lot of heat. You could put your hand over it. Unfortunately, we're in the perfect time of the day where one of them is being emptied and the other one is just being filled. So if we come back in a couple of hours, you'll get the full waft of the tropical fruit.
It starts to bubble already, and that is absolutely amazing. The flavors of there is fine. It's not a much CO2 yet, so we're perfectly fine at the moment. We don't have a hit in the face, and straight away 2-3 meters apart, 3 beautiful but completely different stills. Alison, Natalie and Rebecca. For your geeks out there, I have to say the first one is 15,000 litres or wash still. Then we've got the 10,000 litre intermediate still and the now 9,000 litre spirit still. And the spirit is flowing. You can hear it in the background here in the beautiful copper still. Right away, it is already distilling. The beautiful spirit of Teeling is coming out. 2 stills, 3 stills, condensers in the back. 2-3 stills, but you make double distilled and triple distilled.
Yeah, so I suppose, Alison, Natalie and Rebecca. So these stills are named after Jack Teeling, our managing director, founder, his 3 daughters. So just a nod to them. So The stills are made in Siena in Italy by a company called Frilli, and they're kind of modelled after the old traditional style of Dublin pot stills. So in terms of yield, these three lovely ladies, as we call them, would output about 550,000 LPAs a year, so with the capacity to even do more than that. And then in terms of kind of what we make, so predominantly what we make is triple distilled Irish whiskey. So the reason we triple distill is because with triple distillation it allows you to highlight your yeast characteristics, your lovely light fruity tones that we're getting from the Oregon pine fermenters and our South African white wine yeast. So the bulk of what we're actually doing is triple distillation. We do a small bit of double distillation for some stuff such as peated and different varieties. And the reason we do that is just like with the mill and the fermenters and our cask, we'd like to have the options there in the warehouse to have all of these different wells of flavours. But predominantly what we produce would be our 82 to 84% ABV triple distilled spirit. And that would be coming off Rebecca, our third still. And the liquid that comes off has this quintessential Teeling kind of fruitiness to it and this kind of spiciness to it. And I think we can literally just finish up seeing our distillers down there working on something that hopefully isn't breaking, hopefully going all good.
They're getting up there, so they're getting back to their own office, I guess, so pretty much okay. It is not a direct fire still, so we don't have any fires here at the moment, so really nice. Looking at the stills themselves, they're quite bulky on the middle side. Very, and it's not a very high neck and everything. So it's a very small, bulky, more or less like me. A little bit too fat on the outside. Head is okay, but that's about it.
Yeah, I suppose.
Oh, that's fine, thank you.
No, not at all, not at all. I suppose our stills, they're kind of modelled after the old kind of traditional style Dublin pot still that would have been kind of seen in the area during the 17th and 18th century. Same way with the wooden fermenters, looking to kind of have a nod towards the past. So, as you can see, kind of hitting it in the middle, bulky in the bottom. There is a tall neck, but not the tallest of necks that you're getting. But the focus for us is what the stills are producing is producing a lovely, smooth, fruity, very, very fruity and nice kind of spicy style of spirit across the board, depending on the style that we're doing. And then 6 years down the line, it's great to see that kind of flavour develop through the stills and getting used to the type of spirit that these stills produce and what they bring to develop this kind of quintessential Teeling character.
And that Teeling character, that's what we're talking about. We've got the Teeling character, but there are so many whiskies coming from these three lovely stills. You two pine fermenters, the bigger fermenters from stainless steel, and one more still. You have to come and see it. As I said, I was very, very quickly getting through the exhibition part of it downstairs straight away. This is about production. I think, James, come on. We're seeing the spirit flow. Let's go to the bar, because I know you've got a great bar, and there's a little bit of surprise behind the door as well. So go to the next room.
Yeah, let's go drink something. I suppose the proof is in the liquid at the end of the day, isn't it?
It definitely is. So we're going out of the production room right now, and then straight into a absolutely amazing, beautiful ceiling of cask staves right upstairs. And when we go upstairs, we find ourselves in a small room where we can learn a little bit more about the maturation of the Teeling whiskies and the Teeling small batch. On my left side, there is a very small warehouse and safe with a very, very, very big lock. And right in the middle there, 3 different casks. A little bit about the 3 casks.
I suppose the 3 casks that we have here are a single pot still batch 1, which would be the first batch of whiskey that we ever made here. So that become the first Dublin produced whiskey. in over 50 years. And the other two would be the Zoe and the Holly Teeling cask. So the stills were named after Jack Teeling's daughters, but these are Stephen Teeling's two daughters. So instead of a pot still, they get a cask of whiskey when they're 21.
That's a very nice thought. Now that's going to be one hell of a party.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
are we invited, you two?
yeah, hopefully we'll keep you on the guest list.
Oh, that will be ever nice. So straight away, we get into the bar and there, it's buzzing around. You can hear the glasses everywhere. Cocktails served. There's plenty of people around here with a beautiful gift shop around there. We're going to have a look at the gift shop as well. And James prepared a absolutely wonderful small tasting. So 1 second and we'll be right back. We're going to prepare and fill our glasses and talk about some of the labor and fruits of this absolutely wonderful spirit. So come and join me, James.
Yeah, let's take a seat and grab some whiskey.
Dit is Drop or Dram. You've got 3 bottles in front of us. Teeling small batch, pot still, black pits.
Yeah, I suppose at Teeling's we have a lot of different products, but I decided to pick these 3 because these make up 3 of the 5 whiskies that would be known as our unconventional collection. So they're the core range, the bread and butter of the company. The small batch being a blended whiskey. We also have a single grain whiskey, a single malt whiskey, a single pot still whiskey, and a peated malt whiskey. So very, very different styles of products that are all encompassed over like the Teeling flag. They're all quintessentially Teeling in flavour. And they're the kind of main products that we release. We do a couple of batches a year and they'll always be around different kind of variations of them.
Yeah, even the small batch, I'm already having a sip because you're talking and I'm drinking, which is absolutely fine. Small batch, as you were saying, it is made in a small batch, as we saw just in the production room. Why is it small batch? Does it differ per batch?
Yeah, so I suppose small batch, what that means is more control over the flavour. So the smaller the batch you have, it means that we have a lot more control over highlighting good quality casks. So if we have casks that's really showcasing some amazing flavours, some amazing characteristics, in a small batch it can be put front and centre. In a bigger batch it will make the overall batch better, but it won't have its chance to shine. Now that does swing the opposite direction as well. If you have a cask that's not hitting the mark, it's not saying it's bad, but it's not suitable for the product that it was intended to go into. It's going to bring a small batch down as opposed to a bigger batch where you can put it in and it won't really be noticed that much. So
don't get too technical because we'll lose listeners right at the moment.
Yeah. But I would say that to summarise that, I'd say the small batch process means that we have the unfortunate job of having to taste every single cask of whiskey that we have in the Teeling whiskey.
How much in a batch?
We're talking about 50 barrels there.
Oh, nice. And it is a rum cask, not a rum cask finish, is it?
Yes, so this is a blended whiskey, so corn and malt, like most blends, aged in bourbon, but then it is, we wouldn't really say a finish. What we say is a second period of maturation in Central and Caribbean rum casks. So casks from all over the Caribbean area. So some spiced rum, you have agricole rums, sweet rums, to bring a nice fruitiness, a nice spiciness, a nice kind of sweetness to the whiskey. And the length of the maturation in that could be a year, could be 9 months, could be over a year. And how we know it's done is, and I'm sure you got it when you picked up the whiskey, is that rum, raisin, sultana, figs, dates style of nose to the whiskey. And that's how we know when we open up the cask that small batch.
Very full-bodied, 46%. A reason for 46% on chill filtered, probably 46% there.
Yeah. So 46% came from, of course, non-chill filtered, as you said. So leaving all those natural fatty esters and oils in there just to keep them in there, keep the flavour, keep the character of it. But we chose 46 because we tried it at most other alcohol percentages, and 46 is where it tasted best. So we went with that.
Oh, nice. I really like it. It is very full-bodied. It's not your typically Irish, as most people would think, probably. It's got so much more flavor in it. As you were saying just now when we walked through the production room, so many yeast, so many flavors, so many casks out there. And in the core range, yes, people, we're flying through the core range, but he's got some other bottles here in front of me, and I'm very, very keen to go up there. But not very important too, the Teeling whiskey pot still. I know I had one of the pot still Teelings, batch 1, and I have got batch 2 probably. Is this another batch, or is this is the real Teeling whiskey, all distilled here right in the Liberties in the middle of Dublin?
Yeah, so this is, as we saw the cask inside, the first Dublin distilled whiskey in almost 50 years. This is the culmination of that. So we did it in a batch series initially from 2018 with batch 1, 2 and 3. Once we got to batch 4, we went, there it is, that's what we want. That's what represents the single pot still that we have. So this is following on with the small batch. It's still done in batches, but it remains in the same kind of realm of flavour all the time. Yeah. So the pot still, what it is 50% malted barley, 50% unmalted barley, which is a fairly huge amount of unmalted barley to put into
50-50. Yeah, that is for some of the listeners. They will think, what is malted and unmalted barley? We explained that in other episodes before, but 50% unmalted barley, the yield in there, that's going to have a huge effect on the yield.
Yeah, it obviously putting 50% of something in that does not have fermentable sugars is going to affect your yield. But the reason why we're doing that is not to make yield, not to make as much alcohol as possible, is actually for flavour. So if we try to make as much alcohol as we could possibly make, you're sacrificing flavour. So it's all of the nature, the kind of the nature and the character that's going to give you the flavour and the texture. And that 50% unmalted barley, and I'm sure you pick it up on the palate, brings a lovely oiliness to the whiskey, an amazing kind of creamy, silky texture, and an incredible pink and black peppercorn spice to the tip of your tongue that is coming directly from the grain itself. It's not coming from any cask, it's coming from soil in the ground, and the barley it's been dried, milled, lathered, fermented and triple distilled.
Yeah, also a little dryness in there. It's a lot drier than the rum cask. The rum cask has got a lovely sweet tooth in there. If you're a sweet tooth, it's really, really lovely. I can see myself finishing the bottle with some friends, and I brought some friends along with me. They're next to me, also part of the family are here finally in Dublin, but really, really nice. Pot still, I can also imagine it's not everybody's taste. Pot still is typically Irish. You have to get used to it, but it's a lovely flavor. But this is so easy to drink, pot still.
And it's, in terms of spirit, like aged in bourbon casks, American virgin oak, bringing in that dryness that you were bringing up, and then also Olorosa sherry as well to bring in just that touch of fruitiness in there to complement the white wine yeast. But a growing brand across the world that more people are being made aware of single pot still, Irish single pot still whiskey, and competing and really being acknowledged in certain markets around the world. So it's great to see kind of an Irish indigenous spirit be recognised and kind of growing across the world.
Excellent. Wow, pot still. And now for something that you brought in the COVID period. This is probably the least best kept secret in the whiskey world, and especially here in Ireland, because you decided as Teeling to do the Black Pits, a peated single malt.
Yeah, so I suppose when we started the distillery here, the first goal was to make malt to make our small batch. Then it was to make single pot still, because we wanted to make and revive the tradition of making Dublin single pot still whiskey. Then after that, it was peated. We wanted to make peated because we want to show that Ireland can make good quality peated whiskey. So what we have here is a triple distilled peated single malt. So I know that's going to sound a bit weird for a lot of people who are into peated whiskies.
Absolutely.
So
all those peat heads, watch out, guys. Here comes the secret.
Yeah, so we start off with 55 parts per million peat. So
55 parts
55
per
ppm.
million.
So looking at pretty high, kind of highest commercially available. And then we mill it, you lose some peat, you lauter it, you ferment it, you distill it once, you distill it twice, and that's usually where most people stop. But we wanted to do it one more time, and what the one more time does with triple distillation, it allows us to highlight that South African white wine yeast that we had inside. Really showcase.
Again, the yeast.
Yep, to bring
Very important.
Bring forward the yeast, and what it does to the whiskey and to the peat is quite different. It gets rid of that medicinal ocean spray kind of iodine style of peat, and what you get, and I'm sure you get it on the whiskey, is it's like you've walked past someone's house and they're having a barbecue.
Yeah.
It's that barbecue grilled apple wood.
We just had an absolutely great barbecued grilled steak sandwich. I can see this next there. That lunch we had just before, people, you should have been here. The lunch was absolutely excellent. Together with the steak and the salad we had with the grilled cheese. Oh, guys, winter barbecue is about to turn. We're here right here in the middle of autumn. The leaves are falling already, but it's an absolutely beautiful day here in the middle of Dublin. You wouldn't say it's the autumn because it's unusually hot out here, and I'm getting hotter by the minute because of the black pits. Single malt peated whiskey. As you were saying, it is not that it is easy to make peated whiskies, but where did you get the peat from? Is it Irish peat?
No, so we went around looking in Ireland for peat, and it just was proven difficult. We would love to be able to get it from peat and maybe look at the different bogs in Ireland and see how the different turf has an effect on the peat, but unfortunately we couldn't get enough peat to basically supply us with it, so we had to go to Scotland to get it. So we looked at a number of different regions such as Islay and all that, and
we have enough Islay whiskies at the moment. And they're doing a great job. I love my Islay whiskies, but we don't want to have a copy of Islay whiskies.
Yeah, and that's never been our goal ever, is to make something that's somebody else has, because we can't own it, and our job is, we're passionate about making whiskey, so we want to make or put our own stamp on it and continue to push forward. So we went to Gleness Bayside, and that's where we got our peat. So peated malt, so 55 ppm, but hopefully in the future we'll be able to get some good Irish peat and look at maybe the Connemara bogs, compare them to the Bog of Allen, and really kind of get a little bit nerdy about the peat here in Ireland.
Oh, it's absolutely wonderful. You can really smell the peat in there. You can really taste the peat in there. It's got that lovely Irish softness to it, but not too soft because it's the single malt, and it's got even the triple distill, but it's got enough kick in there to gain interest, to say the least. And this is your core expressions. And well, my buddy Jan, where I host a podcast with, can't be with us here live in Dublin, but in this episode later on we'll definitely talk about it, and we'll taste them at home and see what he thinks about these three. Absolutely wonderful, great core range, but you're very much also known for collaborations. You have different collaborations, and you've got specials, you've got limited editions, and straight away core range, absolutely wonderful, but new things on the market. And okay, if you're listening this 1 year later than we recorded it, it probably is gone already. I'm sorry for this, listeners, but on the other hand, there's probably 3 or 4 new Teelings on the market that way, because we saw the warehouses here just down the road and just down in the countryside in Greenore, where a lot of the Teeling is maturing. One of the latest ones you've got here is absolutely. You poured me a glass, and if I look at it, the coloring is absolutely amazing. And my friends are here as well. Rashid is all the way from the Netherlands here. You've got your glass of, what is it? What do we got? What did you pour us?
I'm not. I thought you were going to refer to what color you called it previously.
No. It's like an Irish ginger beard. And you just put your face mask down, so that might be a reference.
Yeah. So what this is actually our aged single grain, or our vintage grain, if you'd like to call it that. So we had a grain whiskey in our core range, which was called the single grain. We're very matter of fact with our names and Teelings. So the aged grain came from that, and the flagship single grain was Cabernet Sauvignon aged, so fully matured in Californian Cabernet Sauvignon. So looking at your New World wine, your red fruits, your berries, your strawberries, real lovely, easy and approachable. This one though we've done a lot of wine maturation, even with the black pits being Sauterne aged. We had this flagship single malt aged was aged in 5 different varieties of wine casks. So we built up some good relationships with barrel.
So I guess the Teeling family love their wine.
We do, and we even love wine casks even more. So we built up some good relationships and some good experience with using wine casks. So we kind of looked at the single grain and said, like, okay, how can we elevate this? How can we bring this to a new level? So then this came around. So this is aged in bourbon initially for about 9 years. It just gives that grain a good foundation, a good bedrock to build on. And then it's transferred over to Bordeaux Cabernet Sauvignon casks for 4 years. So old world wine, your cherries, your maraschinos, your heavier kind of style of fruits, your big kind of grape mustiness to it. And bottled, not at 46, went a little bit different at this because it actually tasted better for us at this. 50% ABV, just proved to have that perfect balance between the cask and the actual spirit. And for me, it's stunning. Like
the ginger comes from the Cabernet Sauvignon. I'm here with my good buddy Rashid. Maybe if you came to one of our shows in the previous times, you saw him on our whiskey stand once. Rashid, don't drink and talk at the same time. Rashid, great to have you here in Dublin as well. Jan couldn't come, but I've got the co-host at the moment. So you're finally in your first episode of Drop or Dram, the whiskey podcast. What do you think about this?
Absolutely marvelous. Normally grain whiskies, well, you want older grain whiskies to have the real taste, but this is 13 years and so much flavor, so much in it. It's fantastic. Yeah.
Absolutely wonderful. Yeah, 13-year-old single grain whiskey. And yeah, we're talking most of the grain whiskies you see out there that are 25, 30 years old. It doesn't have to be that old.
It's looking at different kind of styles, and we learned from the experience of the Cabernet Sauvignon cask in the flagship grain from California, that it really did work quite nicely. You get this explosive kind of element to where the flavor kind of pops and then it fades. And the one thing I definitely enjoy about this whiskey is it's an explosion of all those Bordeaux dark fruits, but when you put it down, it's gone. You almost want to pick it back up again, and so it's quite a very easy, very approachable, but packed full of flavor, and definitely going to be. I
can't pick it up again. It's my glass is empty already. Empty. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I know that feeling all too well with this. But this whiskey is definitely a big contender for my Christmas Day whiskey.
Christmas Day. Is it here to stay, or is it a limited edition?
For now, it's a limited edition.
So it's
there
only
may not
Christmas 2021.
Yes, hopefully. But I would not. This may continue, so it may not.
Maybe in a different variety of the single grain, because this is not good.
Yeah, maybe not as. Hopefully, you'd hear back from the people who are listening to this and those in Holland, Netherlands who have tried this. So once we get feedback and we see how people actually see, we may look to go and maybe do a different style of cask or do something different with it and expand on the series. But hopefully getting it into people's glasses and sharing the dram with people is the only way we can find out that.
This is a really, really amazing. This is so different than what your mind will say about grain whiskey. This is absolutely in a byline tasting. Absolutely, you would never say that this would be a grain whiskey. Absolutely wonderful. But we've got more, and we don't want to bore people too much. So James was kindly enough to put 2 more casks here, and we're going to have a short overview. Ooh, you hear it pop open the bottles. Talking about one of the other specials that is out there at the moment, and then just another. But we're going to do it quickly because the optimal time of a podcast, of course, is 35 to 40 minutes. But we're going to probably be well over that. But we couldn't resist opening this one, and it's got a beautiful black label, but a Bordeaux red kind of style. No, we're not going to do that. Oh, what is it, James? James is.
This is. So what we have is the new sommelier selection casks. So you were mentioning earlier about the collaborations.
Yes.
So we essentially, with the small batch, we realised that we had a good base because small batch is aged in many different varieties of casks. So we had the likes of like a different kind of Barbados cask, we have Nicaraguan cask, Panama cask, and all those rum casks are going to have different elements. Realised that in a very short period, it highlights those elements in a very obvious way. So we can highlight that this is Barbados, this is Nicaraguan, this is Martinique. So that kind of became a beast of itself with the collaborations, working with the likes of Kiro Gin or OHD Distillery in Oslo, or Plantation is obviously a famous one that we've done, or Galway Bay.
Yes, you had some really good and strange collaborations with Irish beer brewer, as you were saying just now.
Galway Bay Brewery.
And with different kind of rum casks. But there's more to it.
Yeah, so it kind of expanded on, just like what I was saying previously with the single grain, we've built up an experience with using wine casks. So using different varieties of wine casks, different learning, building the relationships with the brokers. So this series, the sommelier series, kind of extended from the collaboration series, using that small batch base to showcase high quality wines. And this series is very much about those relationships that we've built with our brokers. So the first series was the Chateau Margaux. So that would have been the French famous Bordeaux Chateau Margaux.
Wasn't that hugely expensive? Because Chateau Margaux is...
the whiskey, I think, was about 60 odd euros, 65, depending on your tax in your country.
That is ridiculous if you buy a bottle of Bordeaux Chateau Margaux. That would be...
Yeah, very, very. But luckily we were getting the casks after they were emptied rather than full casks, because that would be...
And you go out with a straw and suck every little thing out of it.
Little tiny bits out. And they were fantastic. So then after that, we did the Sommelier Select Sauterne. So we actually looked at, obviously with the 24-year-old winning World's Best being aged in Sauterne, the Black Pits being aged in Sauterne, we wanted to look at how does Sauterne influence on our small batch base. So that was fantastic. Very much of a summary style of whiskey. So we had done 2 Frances. So what we have now is the Sommelier Amarone. So the Amarone cask. So we've shifted from France and now we're looking at Italian wines.
Amarone, still a very, very complex wine, very concentrated wine.
Yeah.
So this is the Amarone finish. Is it a finish or is it?
It is a finish, yeah. So it's matured in bourbon, just like with the small batch. But instead of going into rum, it undergoes a second period of maturation for in and around a year in the Amarone cask. And a few of your kind of more Teeling fans who may be listening may know this from, we've done a few single casks in a couple of places with Amarone, notably Sweden. We've done one in Ireland as well. In a couple of markets, Amarone casks gone out. Though we've slowly looked at, okay, how can we highlight the greatest elements of the Amarone cask? So, yeah, I suppose the proof's in the whiskey. Let's have a try.
Yeah, absolutely. The proof is in the whiskey, and I had a small taste, and the concentration of that wine straight away gets into the concentration of this whiskey. And it's absolutely, the nose is fantastic. You get the wine notes, you get the ripe red fruits in there, you get the cherries and berries in there. It's absolutely amazing.
And it's got a slight dustiness to it that you'd expect from that kind of grape mustiness, that dustiness that you'd expect from kind of Amarone. But for me, lots of tropical fruits. And the interesting thing about it, and what I really love, especially with dealing with these small batch collaborations, is if you bring this to somebody, well, hopefully, if you bring it to somebody who knows their Amarone, they should be able to pick this up and go, I can smell Amarone in it. The same way that with our collaboration, we want the Galway Bay brewers to be able to pick up our stout collaboration, pick it up and go, I can smell and taste my stout in it.
It's absolutely wonderful. And as we were saying, there's so many different styles of Teeling out there. You're experimenting with different yeasts, different mash bills, different yeast varieties. Oh, I was saying that already. I had too much whiskey already. And on the other hand, making wonderful cocktails and wonderful Irish coffee. And definitely your Irish coffee is one of the most recognizable here in Teeling, I heard in the bar. So we will definitely go and have a taste of the Irish coffee. You brought a lot more bottles right here on the table, but we're going to keep it a secret. I think people, you have to get out there and come and visit Teeling and watch yourself why this phoenix has arisen from the ash. The spirit of Dublin, it is right here in the middle. We have to keep it a little bit short, but it's going to be a long night ahead of us. We're going to taste some more of these wonderful collaborations and single malt whiskies, Irish whiskies. What do we have more? Releases. Well, there's too much on the table. James, thank you so much for having us. Let's put the mics down and enjoy yourselves, because we're way overdue in work time. It's time to enjoy yourselves. I hope our listeners enjoy this as well. Otherwise, pick up a Teeling bottle somewhere down the line. Enjoy this podcast and come over to Teeling. Drop us a line, drop James a line, and he'll be happy to explain everything around Teeling. And we're going to enjoy this wonderful bar here in the Dublin Liberties. James, thank you very much.
Yep.
Cheers.
Thank you very much. And I suppose Sláinte, and
Sláinte.
I hope to see some of your listeners in the distillery soon. So if any of your fans and listeners are coming in, please just give us a shout, or just come to the reception and just say, I know James, and
the magic word, drop or dram, the whiskey podcast.
Yeah, say drop or dram, and we'll roll out the red carpet.
Oh, nice.
We have to find the red carpet first, but no, thanks very much for having me. And
well, thank you, Ross, very much for having us. And it was our first episode after the COVID period, right here, live at the distillery, which is absolutely amazing.
Actually seeing people in real life, it's fantastic.
So much more wonderful than on Skype or on the phone. We'll definitely come back to you, maybe on the phone, but otherwise we'll be back here in Dublin. James, thank you very, very much for having us.
Thank you.
Zo, veilig geland en weer terug in Nederland. Ja, Jan, ik had het je beloofd. Ik heb een prachtige tijd weer in Dublin gehad. Het was echt jammer dat je er dit keer niet bij kon zijn. Maar het was genieten op en top. En Teeling Distillery, midden in de Liberties. Het moest.
Dennis, eerlijk is eerlijk, toen je vertrok, ik was stik jaloers. Maar ik heb daarna een paar prachtige vergaderingen gehad en die hebben het leed enigszins verzacht. Ja, ik moet wel zeggen, ik was wel een klein beetje zenuwachtig hoor. Voor het eerst vliegen, weer in 2 jaar tijd. En we zijn gewoon in het buitenland. Onze eerste drop or dram uitzending in het buitenland.
Ja, dat is super.
Ja, hey, maar ik heb van James natuurlijk alles van dingen mogen proeven.
Dat is ook wel redelijk buitenland hoor. Sorry, ik leid je af.
Ja, inderdaad. Ik heb van James daar natuurlijk de core range mogen proeven en een aantal andere collaborations. En het is nog lang onrustig geweest daar in Dublin. Heel lang onrustig trouwens. Maar ja, ik heb mijn koffertje gepakt en ik heb in ieder geval de core range weer meegenomen voor je. Dus Jan, ik heb ze op tafel maar wat dingen neergezet wat ik van Teeling had. De small batch. De meest bekende denk ik van Teeling Distillery. Ja, op rumvaten. Ik heb de potstil whisky.
Ja,
De eerste whisky die ze in Dublin zelf hebben gemaakt natuurlijk.
En ook open, hè? Ik bedoel, er zijn ook waarschijnlijk wel een paar mensen die dicht in de kasten bestaan. Maar hier staat hij gewoon open. Ook lekker.
Ja, maar dit is de nieuwe versie, zeg maar. Dus de batch 1, 2, 3, 4. En nu hebben ze dus een potstil die in de core range is. En dat is deze versie. Uiteraard de Black Pits.
Ja.
Want die hebben we daar ook geproefd. Maar dat was echt wel een eye-opener. Sauternvaten en rokerigheid.
Ja, daar ben ik wel heel benieuwd naar. Die ken ik helemaal niet. Daar heb ik ook nog niks over gehoord. Dus...
Nee. Nou, en ik heb even een van de collaborations. Want ja, Teeling staat gewoon super bekend om zijn innovatie met collaborations. Ze werken zoveel samen. En ik heb... ik moest even met Ier, want ik heb daar natuurlijk ook wel heerlijke biertjes gedronken. Ik heb hier even de collaboration met Galway Brewery. Dus eentje op stoutvaten, Ierse stoutvaten. Dus even kijken. Jan, trek even wat open.
Ja,
welke wil je hebben?
Ik begin met deze.
Zo, je wil gelijk voor de Black Pits gaan?
Oké, dan doen we die dadelijk.
Ja, dat is gelijk zo hebben.
Ik trek de small batch wel open. De small batch. De small batch.
Eventjes terug.
Lastige lipjes trouwens.
Ja.
Nou, even kijken of het lukt hoor.
Zo. Wel in het glas ploppen, Jan. Hartstikke lekker. Collaboration. De small batch. Ja. Sommige mensen zullen hem ooit een keer gehad hebben. Anderen misschien nog niet. Maar Teeling, de Distillery.
Jij een glaasje?
Ja, fantastisch man. Ja, het brengt me gelijk weer terug naar Dublin.
Ja, mooi. Even kijken. De Teeling Small Batch dus op rumvaten zogezegd. 46%. Non-chill rum casks gebotteld, denk ik. Het staat er wel heel klein op. Bottled on april 2017. Zal wel distilled zijn dan, of niet?
Dat weet ik niet. Het zijn elke keer small batches en ik heb gewoon even eentje.
Distilled april 17.
Ah, oké.
Sorry, ik heb plus 4, plus 2,5. Dus af en toe dan moet ik die flesjes een beetje dichterbij houden.
Ja, dat kan. Ja, Jan die stopt zijn neus lekker in het glas. Ja, we waren er. Het is een van de core ranges van Teeling. Die nu te krijgen is natuurlijk. En dit is misschien wel de meest beroemde, de small batch van hun.
Oh man, het is natuurlijk nu al donker buiten. Maar ik ruik gewoon vers gemaaid gras. Zest.
Ja, ik was hier. Dit is gewoon wel echt heerlijk. En het grappige is, het is typisch Iers.
Ja.
Lekker zacht, vol, maar ook weer niet.
Ja, dat weet ik nog niet. Ik ben nu nog aan het ruiken nog steeds. Want hij ruikt echt ontzettend mooi. Beetje appeltaart. Dennis zit me zo aan te kijken. Jij ruikt altijd appeltaart, Jan. Ja. Sorry.
Ik heb net een stroopwafel achter me kiezen. Dus ja.
Ruikt mooi. Ik ga even proeven.
Ga jij even proeven. Jan heeft natuurlijk zo lang moeten wachten tot hij hem heeft geproefd. En hij had onze avonturen al mee kunnen luisteren. Maar hij stond echt smakkend naar binnen te komen van... Mag ik nu eindelijk meeproeven? Ja, dat mag, Jan. Ik heb ze niet voor niks in mijn koffer meegenomen. Dat was nog een aardige puis die ik extra bij moest betalen natuurlijk... voor al die flessen die ik mee heb genomen.
Dat is wel mooi hoor. Hij komt eerst een heel klein tikje zuurig binnen. Een beetje citroenvlaai, zeg maar. Dat zo heel licht zuur. Warm ook. En dan trekt dat weg. Dan krijg je een wat warmere vanille fruitsmaak. En dan even neemt die 46% alcohol, die neemt het over. En dan krijg je een tikje bitter. En als je daar weer doorheen bent, dan een hele mooie, lange, warme, appelige, fruitige, karamelachtige afdronk.
Ja, ik kijk nu heel appelig en een beetje zuur, want ik vind het gewoon heel erg lekker.
Ja,
het is gewoon verfijnd, vol. Het is goed weg te drinken. Het is ook makkelijk, maar het is niet zo zacht als dat je het zelf zou denken. En iedereen die denkt natuurlijk, oh ja, Dublin natuurlijk. Ja, we hebben het er uitgebreid over gehad in Dublin zelf, in de Teeling Distillery, waar we prachtig ontvangen zijn. En mensen, vergeet Dublin nou niet als whiskystad, want het is natuurlijk fantastisch om heen te gaan. En de Distillery is het meer dan het bezoeken waard. Een prachtige bar, goed café.
Ja, dat sowieso. En ook nu, hè. Ik bedoel, je kan er met vrienden heen gaan, maar je kan ook... je kan er nu rustig met partner die niks met whisky heeft heen gaan. Je bezoekt een klein beetje oud Dublin en dan eens zeg je... Oh, kijk, hier is ook een distilleerderij. Dan neem je hem of haar of het eventjes mee naar binnen. En dan vervolgens doe jij er nog eentje. En dan gaat die ander even shoppen. Of je gaat even ergens lekker zo'n shepherd's pie. Hè, die we daar ook...
Dublin is wat dat betreft natuurlijk een fantastische... Het is een mooie kapitool van niet alleen van Ierland, maar het is een wereldse stad. En toch is het heel klein.
Toch zeg ik, pas op.
Waarom?
Pas op. Je hebt daar die tempelbar.
Ja.
In dat straatje daar tegenover, schuin tegenover de tempelbar. Dan heb je dat restaurant dat heel lang gerekt op de eerste verdieping zit.
Ah ja, maar dat is echt zo'n tourist trap is dat.
En dat lijkt gezellig.
Maar dat is de meest zoute stew die we ooit in ons leven gegeten hebben.
Man, wat was dat slecht.
Maar ik heb inmiddels een heel goed lijstje met andere restaurants waar wij geweest zijn. Traditioneel Iers, maar ook niet traditioneel. En echt één van die restaurants waar ik geweest ben. In een Irish pub. Oeh. En daaronder zat een diner. De Wow Burger. Oh, man. Een pint bestellen aan de bar boven beneden je hamburgertje. Nou, ik heb nog nooit zo genoten.
Och, man.
Maar we wijden uit. Lekker, small batch. Hartstikke goed.
Lekker sappie.
Lekker spul. Ja, wat ik zei Jan, ik heb gewoon echt een hele range geproefd. Ik heb het natuurlijk met James uitgebreid gehad. En onze grote vriend Rashid was erbij. Die ook toevallig in Dublin was. En die heeft ook zijn licht laten werpen. Maar ja... Joh, we kunnen alle tasting notes nog een keer doornemen. Het is natuurlijk gewoon fantastisch. Maar laten we er gewoon nog even eentje aantrekken.
Ja?
Ik vind die collaborations ik zo... Nou, dat kies jij maar. Ik vind die collaboration mensen, hou dat in de gaten.
Ja, je zit me echt gewoon aftouwen van die Black Pits.
Ja, nou, heel even. Die Black Pits moet zo. En die potstil, die houden we gewoon even voor later.
Ja, oké.
Want dit is even een kleine serie die ik hier heb.
Even heel snel voor mij. Hè? Je hebt die interviews en alles gehouden. Dus ongetwijfeld is dat ruim aan bod gekomen. Maar even voor mij, heel snel nog, die collaborations. Wat was het ook alweer? Samenwerken met een brewery? Nou,
in dit geval is het met een brouwerij. Maar ze hebben ook heel veel collaborations met... Uiteindelijk met rumplantages, dus of met rummakers. Ze hebben collaborations met wijnmakers. Dus Teeling is continu op zoek naar nieuwe vaten, nieuwe manieren om hun Teeling wat extra's te geven. En dat vind ik zo gaaf. Ze hebben gewoon nu een fantastische core range met een echte potstil. Een typisch Iers product. Ik bedoel, Ierser dan potstil ga je het gewoon niet krijgen. Dan die small batch. Makkelijk, mooi, single malt. Dan hebben we die Black Pits die we zo nog gaan doen. En al die verschillende collaborations. En natuurlijk, ze hebben nog wat specials. De Brabazon serie onder andere. Ja, mensen, echt, er is zoveel van Teeling. En ze blijven maar doorgaan.
En deze heeft gerijpt op een Imperial Stout cask. En ik drink sinds een jaar bieren. Dus inmiddels kan ik stout smaken beter waarderen dan vroeger. Dus ik ben heel benieuwd. Eerst weer die neuzen. Ook overigens weer op 46%.
Ja, de stoutkast. En de stout is van Galway
bierig, hè? Ja, een beetje dat frisse, moutige wat een dubbel biertje of een triple biertje ook een beetje heeft.
Absoluut. En je proeft het ook echt. Het is dat wat donkere chocola, die creaminess die je in een stout kan vinden. Die zit ook echt in het glas. Die zit ook echt in die drank. En dat maakt het gewoon wel heel erg gaaf. Ik ben wel onder de indruk van dit soort dingen. We hebben daar ook nog een Amarone wine cask geproefd.
Oh, die afdronk. Oh.
Ja.
Ik zat net te bedenken, dat bittertje van die 46% die ik net had, die blijft uit. En terwijl ik dat zit te bedenken, ineens, bam, opent zich nog een soort tweede smaakpalet.
Ja, maar dat is juist het mooie van Teeling, maar ook van andere Ierse whiskies. Er zitten zoveel mooie laagjes onder. Het blijft geven. Het maakt zo spannend. Er zit elke keer weer wat anders onder. En dat vind ik het leuke. En ja, genoten. Echt top genoten. Ja, we hebben een hele lange avond, maar zo lang kunnen we de uitzending niet maken.
Ik word er stil van. Nee, dat was ook zo. Ik moest doorproeven.
Ja, we hebben gewoon veel te lang daar in Dublin zitten praten. Maar we hebben mensen eindelijk live mee kunnen nemen.
Ik snap het. Het
en
is
dat
ook
is
geen,
leuk.
Het is ook geen...
Het was fantastisch hoor. Dus
Het is gewoon een cadeautje van mij. Daar ga ik er maar van genieten ook.
ja,
Fijn dat ik straks...
kon niet zonder jou natuurlijk daarin doen.
Mijn dochter heeft toch tegenwoordig rijbewijs. Dat scheelt een hoop.
Dat is zeker mooi.
Nou, dan is dit dan toch het snoepje waar ik al een beetje verlangend naar zat uit te kijken.
De Black Pits.
Black Pits. Peated. Teeling peated. En dan op die sauternvaat, hè?
Nou ja, en die combinatie.
Ja, ik heb
Dat
sinds
was
ik
zo
de eerste
gaaf.
keer een Benriach volgens mij op sautern proefde, ben ik ook wel een beetje, als ik sautern zie, dan loopt mij het water al in de mond.
Ja, ik vind sautern heerlijk als wijn. Een prachtige dessertwijn met een verfijnd zoetje en een licht zuurtje.
En dat zoetje zit hier ook in de geur.
Ja, alleen ik vond het altijd een hele moeilijke. En ik vind dit wel een hele gewaagde collaboratie die ze hebben gemaakt. Met sautern, omdat je natuurlijk wel turfachtig met dat zoet. En sautern leent zich niet zo heel makkelijk om te combineren met andere smaken. En dat is wel erg goed gelukt.
Ja, dat is ook wel grappig dat je... Weet je, het gek is, jij zei, ik zit hem dus te ruiken en alles, hè. Dat zoetje valt op. Jij zegt terecht dat peated. Ik denk, oh ja, ik was een peated whisky aan het proeven. In de geur bijna niet. En ik proef hem. En dan krijg je toch dat ziltige, dat creamy van normale peat.
Ja.
En dan ineens zo, vloep. Dat
Nou ja,
zit je eroverheen.
wij hebben het daar ook over gehad van, is het nou peat of is het nou smoky? En we kwamen er een beetje als conclusie achter dat smoky whisky heel erg Iers is en peated whisky echt heel Schots is. En daar zat een verschil in. Wat is het verschil tussen smoky en peat? Peat is echt turf peat, gewoon dik, rook, zwaar. En smoky whisky is een beetje wat je in de barbecue saus, de smoky barbecue, wat een beetje die verweven rokerigheid die erin zit. Het kampvuurtje wat je nog ruikt, het haartje, maar niet het wat zwaardere.
Die discussie vond een beetje aan het einde plaats, kan ik me zo voorstellen.
Nou, we hadden er een stuk of 8 geproefd, dus het zou kunnen. Maar ik vond het wel heel mooi om te zeggen, Iers is smoky en Schots is peat.
Ja, dus, ja, fijn dat ik nog even mee mocht proeven dan. Ik baal natuurlijk nog steeds van zo'n stekker dat ik er niet bij was. Maar goed, we gaan wel weer.
We gaan zeker terug naar Ierland, absoluut. Dat kan gewoon niet anders. En dit was onze, nou ja, eigenlijk mijn eerste trip naar het buitenland weer sinds 2 jaar. En daar staan er natuurlijk nog wel een aantal op de planning. Dus wat dat betreft kijk ik daar heel erg naar uit. Maar het was natuurlijk fantastisch om live in een distillery. We hebben onze roadtrip gedaan door Nederland.
Ja.
Gedwongen, maar ook met heel veel plezier. En we hebben pareltjes ontdekt. Maar ja, daar gaat toch niks boven om eventjes terug te gaan naar...
Even naar die oorsprong. Eventjes. Ja.
Juist.
Heerlijk.
Ja. Ik zeg...
Ik ga je nog even nagenieten. Geef me die foto's maar en dan...
Ja, nou, dat is goed. Je hebt die... je hebt echt kleine slokjes gewoon. Maar ik heb hier nog deze... die kunnen we ook nog... Weet je?
Ja, de pot.
Het wordt gewoon nog lang onrustig.
Komt heel goed.
Ik denk het ook. Mensen, wij gaan nog even lekker doorproeven. Dag.
Dit was Drop or Dram. Vergeet niet om je te abonneren op onze podcast of kijk op onze website www.dropordram.nl. Tot de volgende keer.